Hey everyone, welcome to Picture Your Soapbox, where I give you my commentary on the news today as reported by the Wall Street Journal. First up, the cover article says that Trump's he's a bit of obviously, his presidency shatters pretty much every norm there was about the presidency before. Like, no order to it, not very civil, bit chaotic. But hey, I'm not saying it's a bad thing by any means. Maybe his shakeup is what American politics need. Maybe it's bad. Who knows? Only time and history will tell. So yeah, we guess we'll see. And I think the main reason why a lot of people don't like the style is because it's new. It's like not what you expect from a president. But then again, a lot of people didn't expect Trump to be president. I mean, he's been in the construction and he's been in the construction business his whole life and dabbled a little bit in TV. So, I mean, not the guy you think would be president, but here we are. He's president and did a pretty good job, to say the least. But the other thing that's weird about his presidency is that he's fluctuating. It seems to fluctuate back and forth between like success and fail. Well, it's not his failure. It's like everyone else is like trying to destroy him while he's trying to succeed. So he has the Democrats agreed to pass USMCA and the trade deal with Mexico and Canada, and he got China to agree to a limited trade deal. But the same week, the articles of impeachment were approved. So sort of like an up and down roller coaster with Trump. There's the Trump train. Every other president had a train. Trump has a roller coaster. And some people's trains went straight up, some went down a cliff, but like Obama's did. But really, his is more like a roller coaster. So yeah. Then oddly enough, Boris Johnson is he won, so Johnson and his Tories won, as I've said, but he just like Corbyn, he's promising big government spending, although just not as much as Corbyn was. So it's sort of a departure from conservative tradition to try to boost government spending. But again, changing times. The next up, there's a more in-depth analysis of Pete Buttigieg's economic plan, because he seems to be the Democratic Party's new rising star. It's his turn in the spotlight. So I mean, let's see what's this guy like. So first up, I know a lot of people, including myself, think that we should be instead of giving the government more power, actually privatizing some things. I think maybe we should think about privatizing the postal service, probably because so they can better compete with Amazon and FedEx, UPS, etc. We should probably also get rid of the Department of Education, because before the Department of Education in the late 70s, U.S. is number one in the world in education. Now we're 24th. So, big government failure. Yeah, we don't really need a Department of Energy or the EPA or National Science Foundation or a whole lot of other useless departments. You can just throw them out. But Buttigieg wants to add more government corporations to compete with the private corporations. Now, you see here, you remember when I said that the Medicare for All who want it, his public option plan, is really just Medicare for All with extra steps, because just like the public school system, the vast majority of people are going to use Medicare for All who want it, because their choice will either be pay the tax and use the service, or pay the tax, don't use the service, and pay extra for your own. Which is, as I said before, that's the reason why so few people homeschool or private school their kids, most just in public school. And it'll be the same thing with healthcare. So within a few years, we'll have Medicare for All. But it will still technically be called Medicare for All who want it. It just won't be government nationalizing the entire healthcare industry like Warren and Sanders want. So that's a problem in and of itself. That's one thing. That's not everything, though, that he's offering. He also wants to he says Medicare for All, for his spending, the amount of money apparently he'll spend over a 10-year time span is, he says, $6.8 trillion. It's probably gonna be much higher than that. and the tax breakdown probably going to be like 7.17 trillion. So just for examples, like what spending includes is like about 1.5 trillion for Medicare for all who want it. Same for climate stuff. Expand Social Security, 270 billion. Housing, another 450 billion. Affordable college debt support, 600 billion. Now, so he differs from Warren Sanders. Like he didn't want like to they didn't want to like not force anyone to have Medicare. He also doesn't want to force anyone to. He also doesn't want to cover for everyone's tuition. He said like we shouldn't be covering for millionaires' kids. Well, you're gonna need those millionaires' kids to pay for the system. So what's it gonna be, Buttigieg? But yeah, that's like just some of his spending plan. He also but to pay for it, he wants to do stuff like more taxes on corporations, getting rid of the Trump corporate tax cut, raising capital gains tax, financial transactions tax, which tax it's sales tax pretty much, sales tax and tax on like stock trading, that kind of thing. Then repealing more Trump tax cuts. Apparently, he thinks the government's going to save money with Medicare for all. No, it by definition increases spending. I don't really see his logic there. But yeah, but in a time where we really should be like there's some programs we should be privatizing, like the Postal Service. Some things we should be like just jettisoning altogether from the federal government and leaving it to the states, like education. Some things that no government needs to do, like energy and science, because like the private sector's got the energy and science down pretty well. I mean, the private sector manages pretty fine, I think, but apparently not. It's all a power grab, really. They're trying to promise whatever they can to get in power. And then Buttigieg is going to turn to Elizabeth Warren to destroy the economy. Or into Joseph Stalin. Send all the conservatives and libertarians after the gulags for disobeying. That's not a wild thing to suggest. It could happen, because think about it. Or, think about it like this. If the government runs healthcare, then they can do whatever they want. Then they can deny it to political enemies. Like a liberal president could cut off healthcare to Republicans if they made Medicare for all thing, or they could give them healthcare, that's deliberately poisoned to kill off conservatives. That's possible. I mean, case in point, in Alabama for about like 50 years, from the 1920s to 1970s, there was an experiment done on black people to test like the effects of syphilis on the African Americans. Guess how they got people to even sign up for this? They said it was government health care, like free health care for them, from the government of Alabama, to those really giving them syphilis just to see how it went, how it reacted in them. That's effing messed up. But also just to warn you, don't have government on healthcare. Like besides like the long wait times, the death panels, and all that stuff, like they could just like deliberately try to make you ill or dead. All right. Next up, there's an article like saying that, again, comparing the U.S. and the U.K., saying that in both countries, the Reagan and Thatcher conservatism has kind of changed to more like the Boris Johnson and Trump style. So conservatives now are much more populist. It's like more working class, less educated. So really, it's like just for comparison, back in Kennedy's day, people were shocked that Kennedy was a Republican because he was like, or was a Democrat rather, because he looked like the model Republican. I mean, like, his father was rich. His father was in politics and government forever. He went to elite university, Harvard. He served in the military for a while. So Kennedy looked like the model Republican. I mean, he even had several affairs. But yeah, he was a Democrat. But now it's like not likely to be Democrat, because as liberal Democrats have embraced coastal elites, the working class people in the United States and Great Britain have sort of felt left out, and then turned to the conservatives for help. So now instead of endorsing free trade, it's more like endorsing economic nationalism. Like buy American, hire American. There's a virtue in putting your country first, but like the way they do it, like it's fine it is good to like put your country first, but it shouldn't get to the point where like you're not buying anything from other countries because like trade is like if you trade with other countries, first of all, less likely to go to war because you have more to gain from trade than you do from war. And second, like second, like not every country can do everything. I mean, the U.S. sometimes needs other countries' expertise. I think that's the theory of comparative advantage in economics is make what you can, trade for what you can't. I mean, as much as I support helping American workers, I would say, well, don't be like we shouldn't be too protectionist that we forget to trade with other countries and see if they can make anything better than us. And sometimes, yeah, they can. Japan sometimes a lot of Japan's cars better than arguably better than American cars, and then yeah, Germany also better cars, and South Korea. Okay, no, I like Apple phones much better than Samsung. So yeah, the point is, other countries can make good stuff, and it's easier because we can focus on what America is good at making. The next, one of the main beneficiaries of the USMCA when it's passed would be dairy farmers because currently, like, for example, in Canada, there's a pretty steep tariff on American dairy products like cheese, milk, and butter, and NAFTA makes it difficult to like put the limit on how much can be sold to them. Not anymore. The limit would be tripled under USMCA, and the tariffs would be pretty much gone. Yeah, like so the Canada's essentially has agreed to essentially get rid of the tariffs. So yeah, it's really gonna be a benefit to farmers, I think. Then next up, there's another op-ed saying that the victory for Boris Johnson is a warning to Democrats here because again, Britain and America are two very different countries, but they're still pretty similar. I mean, they got like again, as I said before, they have like a similar conservative economic nationalism, populism thing going on right now, and they pretty soundly rejected liberals and socialism, giving the Labour Party like its worst defeat since 1935. Yeesh. So Corbyn's plan wasn't all that different from what Democrats here are promising, and so it's sort of a warning that like maybe people just don't really want liberal policies, and obviously, and just like America, Johnson won. They're blaming racism, sexism, Russian interference, etc. in Britain. And there was one tweet like, if you're such a racist, just go move to an island and start your own country. And when I saw it, I was like, Great Britain already is an island. You're telling people who live on a freaking island to go move to an island? Part of the reason that they want to break away from the EU, is because they live on an island. They don't want to be tied down by a continent. They're an island, free. It's just mind-boggling. I mean, it makes sense if you told someone from America maybe because it's a mainland, but come on. Telling British people, go move to an island if you don't like it. Like, we're already on one. And finally, there's an op-ed entitled "Who Can Beat Trump?" because at first, like, the start of this year is when all the Democrats started launching their presidential bids, but and so the question initially was, who can beat Trump? Do we need someone who can restore the status quo? Do we need someone who can be like Trump but liberal, like like Warren? But so we're going for the Warren brand, or we're going for the Biden brand. Then it switched more to policy as the debate started as more people started joining the race, and more policy issues were being debated, like climate change and Medicare for all. But now we're back to who can beat Trump, probably because of the impeachment. And Democrats are trying to stay relevant during the impeachment. I mean, a lot of candidates are pretty bored of impeachment because it's drawing away from their campaigns, which makes total sense because the media doesn't have that great of an attention span, so so the impeachment though keeps feeding them with stuff to be focused on. So the candidates kind of get overlooked at times, unfortunately for them. So it's obviously we have Bernie Sanders calling Trump a fraud, pathological liar, homophobe, bigot. I wonder if when he said those things, he was like just flipping through a book of epithets to say. I'm pretty sure like each Democratic presidential candidate or like Democrat in general has like a little book or something, or a notebook in their back pocket that they can pull out and read some random epithet from, or maybe they have it memorized, or maybe they have like in their wallet like a little like business card or something like that, or like it'll fit in the card slot in the wallet so that they can like pull it out and like read. You're a which fit the situation better, homophobe or Islamophobe? Something like that. You know what I mean? Like they have a little card probably. I wonder because at times it does seem like that. Then more or candidates like remember Trump said he'd tell his rich friends that he just made them a lot richer when he passed his tax cuts. He also made other Americans richer. Like Nancy Pelosi said that the $1,000 or so that the average American saves from his tax cuts are from Trump's tax cuts are crumbs. But over 60% of Americans can't afford to cover a $500 out of pocket they surprise $500 out of pocket expense. So that $1,000 is a big boost to those 60% of people who cannot cover that expense. Like it's kind of surprising to me that people here can't we're like really that many people can't cover that. Wow, in America. But the tax cut, I mean, now you got that money and that money adds up. There's people there's articles earlier this year around tax season saying people were crying because their accountants told that their tax returns are going to be lower. But think about it this way. Think about the messed up logic of it. Okay, so imagine you're in the store and there's something priced for $11. You hand the cashier $20 for it, and he gives you $9 change, right? Now let's say they drop the price to $8 from you give them a 10 and they'll only give you 2 back. So complaining about your tax return is lower this year is like saying complain because the cashier only gave you back $2. He's only giving you back $2 because you gave less in the first place, so he has less to give you back. Make sense? All you people are complaining about lower tax returns. That's how it works. It's not like government's keeping more of your money. It's that the government took less of your money in the first place. So yeah, and Buttigieg, back to the who can beat Trump thing. A lot of people focusing on Buttigieg right now because he's the young guy, the new young guy. But I think he's a Trojan horse for Christians. Are probably gonna latch on and be like, oh, he's a Christian. He's a Trojan horse. That's all I got for you on this episode of Patriot Soapbox. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great daily content.